So whatever we do, Father, may it be for you. We just ask that you would be glorified. We thank you again for your goodness and your mercy, Father, that you have bestowed upon us. We pray this in Yeshua's name, and you can say amen. If I can have as far as the gals, that they would begin to make their way here. Not only the gals. Remember, this is men and women alike, right? He goes, you got it. Anybody up here can cut a rug? You guys come up here. You know what I mean. Where the balloons? Yeah, where the balloons? Hey, we need to incorporate balloons. Might be good. Are we ready? We going in a different direction this time? Okay, I think everybody's lined up different. All right, let's do this. man. You got as far as the men and the women out there dancing. That's beautiful. Okay, if we can have as far as those that are blowing the shofars, that they'll make their way up on the stage. Oh yeah, we got to get some new ones. Yeah. I'll have you start it off, then I'll blow, and then so forth. So just wait probably about 5 seconds, so forth. Okay? All right, go ahead. All right, let's turn around and we're going to do this tomorrow.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
All right, let us read together. Shema Israel, Yahweh our God, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. And these words which I am commanding you today are to be on your heart. You are to teach them diligently to your children, and speak to them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. They are to be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Amen. All right, if I can have 4 gentlemen come, and if they'll get the hoopah. In number 6 in verse 27, he says, and they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Matthew 19, verse 14. Yeshua said, let the little children come unto me, and do not hinder them, for to such belongeth the kingdom of heaven. So if I can have as far as all of our children, if they would make their way here. All right. Wonderful. That's a beautiful sight. Yahweh protect and defend you.
Father, that you would touch each and every one of them, from the oldest down to the youngest, and your hand would just be upon them. I thank you for your safety. I thank you for your healing touch. And I just thank you and ask that you just make yourself known to each of them, Father, that they would hear your voice and know that you are real, and know that you are alive, and know that you just want to do exceedingly abundantly more than they could ask or think. And Father, that every hair of their head is numbered by you, and that you care deeply about all of them. And Father, I just praise you and thank you and ask that you touch the parents and the grandparents and anybody that has influence over them. Father, that you would just lead them and guide them by your Ruach to help them lead the kids in the right path. And Father, that you would strengthen them, the kids, that they would never wander from the path, and that your hand would continually be upon them. And we just thank you and praise you. Amen.
Thank you, thank you. I can have my dear wife make her way up here this time. We got an offering box. It's not a black one, but I kind of forgot that one, but it's one sitting on the floor right there. So that's where you're going to put some offering inside.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. So we're going to go over the announcements for the week. This week is Yom Teruah. So September 19th, which is Tuesday, we will be meeting up at the Sandy Amphitheater Park. We've been there before. Try to get up there a little early if you can, or try not to be late, because we're going to be pushing the time pretty tightly, because those that are meeting for dinner before, we also are going to be meeting at Golden Corral for you that want to join us. There's a group that wants to meet over there. They have a private room. So meet there. We're going to try to be out of there by 5:45. Sorry, 6:45. We're meeting there at 5:45. And so we're going to try to be out of there. That's why they chose a buffet, so that we can just serve our food and go. We'll meet up there, and we have a little service planned. So the dancers will be dancing, and Bev will be bringing the word to us that night, and we'll be blowing shofars over the city. So plan on attending if you would like to be there. Next week is going to be Midrash. So bring your questions, be thinking about them this week, and bring some good topics, stuff that you really truly are questioning. And I've heard a lot of different things that, people are, curious about, or not really on board with some of the teaching of it. So bring those things up. That's our time to discuss them. That's why we open it up for Midrash once a month, so that people have the opportunities to come forth and say, hey, what, this was talked about, we really didn't understand it. Can you do some further explanation, or does somebody else have a better explanation? Or, we Midrash. We just see where everybody's studies have taken them and how they are viewing it. So bring those topics. Yom Kippur, 29th, which is a Friday night, we'll be meeting here at the building. It will be, dinners will be served that night. So if you're fasting, which I think most of us will be fasting that day, we will have our service and we'll break fast together. So that is going to be the 29th, 6:30 here at the building. We will not. That is going to be our service that night. So the 29th is a Friday night. We will be meeting here. There will be no Shabbat service that Saturday. So that's going to be our service. We're getting things really wrapped up here for Sukkot. So in the next week or so, I do need everybody to pay their money. There is a Venmo account that's set up for the congregation, and it's sent through Dave's. Dave set it up, so it's through him. If you don't have the address, talk to Dave, or I think they posted it. Oh, Julie, did you post that? Okay, we'll put the Venmo, what do you call it? The little Q code or whatever. We'll put that on there, and then you can just pay it through there. Remember, it is $50 a person for the weekend. That will include your lodging for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we're going home on Sunday. So Becky and I took some time this week, and we have ironed out all of the food, and we know that it's going to end up being $25 a person, but that is for your whole weekend. That's for Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday breakfast. So $25 a person, that's a steal. That was a deal, but we really got it down, and we're going to have good meals. It will be 3 meals a day. That will be your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday breakfast. So if you could get those, your money in within the next couple of weeks. We've already paid for everything, but we do need to make sure that's all taken care of. Yeah, it will end up being lodging and food will end up being $75 per person. So it ended up being $50 for the lodging, $25 for the food, and you can't eat anywhere for 3 days and a half for $25. So, did you have something, Julie? Oh, so it is going to be at Rosemary Grove. If you want to pull it up, you can pull it up. They have an actual web page. You can pull it up. You can look at it. We have rented the whole facility, so we will have plenty of room. We have some fun activities planned and teachings planned, and so let's just anticipate coming. I have had some new people tell me that they're coming, so if you know anybody that hasn't signed up that wants to come, make sure they let us know, because we're going to be putting all the rooms together as to who's going to be in what rooms, and actually for the food, so you'll just let us know that. Other than that, JP, we're glad you're here with us. We don't get to see him really often. And we're glad that, oh my gosh, his name just took me. Jonathan, that Jonathan's here today with us. So, and any new people. I'm trying to think of what your name is back there in the hat. Susan Jones, I should know that because we have 2 Susan Jones in our. So, Susan, we're glad you're back with us too after your surgery and everything. So, Shabbat Shalom. Let's go on with our service.
Thank you. Are you excited? Are you excited about the feast? All right. You know, and I know that every time that the feast happen to show up, we get a visit from Hasatan. Right? He just somehow likes to try to interrupt as far as what God has wanted to do. So let's just know that as far as that he's at work. He don't like the festivals. Okay? He's not a fan of them. But we're here to, as far as please Abba, right? We're here to do all that we can to make sure that these things go on and that we just do our part. So I'm excited about it. Thankful for those newcomers that are wanting to participate with us. I just think it's a beautiful thing. All right. We can have as far as our ladies. They'll get ready. Psalms 27 verse 6, he says, and now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer into his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises unto the Lord. Psalms 141 verse 2, he said, let my prayer become counted as incense before you, and the uplifting of my hands as an evening sacrifice. So let us stand. I seen as far as there's this door right there. Nice. Ready, ladies?
Bless the Lord. I have a short little praise report, real quick. Anything could always be worse, right? So Jordan here, I guess you can see he's hobbling along. He ended up fracturing 3 spots of his tibia bone, and he was pretty scared, thinking he was going to have surgery and nervous. And so we just said, let's just pray. As we were going to the hospital, I said, let's just pray and don't go there yet. And I think we always need to be reminded, like, we can't go there. Like the Father says, don't look behind you, don't look in front of you, but look right where He is in your present. And so as we got to the hospital, he started to kind of chill out a little bit as we were praying about it. And he was in a lot of pain, but it was also dislocated. So they had to put the bone back in place, and then that helped a lot with his pain. But it could be worse. He could have had to have had surgery if it wasn't able to get put back in place. They were going to have to put some screws in there, but they didn't. So praise Yah. Anything could always be worse. So we have to always remember that. So let's just praise Him, because there's always something to praise Him for. Even if we're going through stuff that's struggling, that's hard, that's troublesome, just look up and just praise Him.
I have something too. I wanted to say how blessed I was because we were at the ball game when Jordan went down, and they were taking him and they said he had to go to the hospital and stuff. He probably had a break and everything. And we got in the car, and I took Adrian and Olivia with Dave and I, and so we left, and they were like, "Oh man!" And Adrian and Olivia were like, "We need to pray. We need to pray because God does miracles, and He can go over there, and they won't have to do nothing." And they were just like encouraging Dave and I in the car, and they're like, "Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we go. That's why we go to Shabbat, right? And He's going to show us faithful that He can do this." And I was like, "Wow, it's a preacher boy here, So it's awesome that we bring our kids here, we pray over them, we ask God to do the work in their hearts, and they do. He does it. So it was amazing. It was a testimony to me because I was like, "Oh my gosh, what if, and kids had to bring us back to reality." So He's in control.
Okay, so our kids were brought up in the ways of the Lord, and sometimes they slip away. And so lately, Richie and I have really been having a rough time with some of them, their attitudes and things like that. So the last few weeks since his birthday in August, I've just been throwing myself down on the floor before the Lord with His mercy upon them, and just praying in the Spirit because I didn't know what to pray anymore, and I didn't want flesh to get in the way, and anger and hurt and all that kind of stuff that comes when family members hurt you. And so a few weeks back, and you already know about part of this, so I was doing that, and on a Shabbat evening after Shabbat meeting, my daughter called, and there was a horrific accident that killed the whole family, and it ended up, it was her friend, and it was her, the principal of the school, and it was in the news, so they were killed in the Tetons. So she cried, and she was hysterical, so we prayed, and then last week I had asked if anybody wanted to come. We wanted to just redeem that land, because we found out that land was being used, for murder and things like that, from that area all the way up to Idaho, so the whole darkness, and we have the right and the authority to redeem the land back to the Lord. So, so it ended up just being Richie and I and Amanda and her family, my daughter. And so what I saw in the whole thing is He said, "I have you back with this whole thing with all of your kids, but this specific thing was her." And she thanked me and thanked us, and she was just like, "Thank you for caring so much." But it was the Spirit of the Lord on the inside, that was caring for her. And, that softness has to come yet. I'm not going to say it's there, it's not there, but she saw us stand in the gap for these people that we really didn't know. And by His Spirit, by His Spirit, and like no more death. That's what we said. There's suicides of children, and just no more. That cloud has to go away. And so they saw all of that, and my son-in-law was like, "Thank you for teaching us." Anyway, so it was like he was showing me, all you did was you were obedient. You saw my face for them. You didn't allow yourself to get angry and hurt, because I was. You didn't hold on to it. You let it go. You just let it go, and you let me work. And he did. So I just want to give him glory, and I just want to encourage that when you don't know what to do, just cry out to him. When you don't know what to do, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Just seek his face. Just pray. And try to be obedient even if it hurts. Because what he had showed me with the kids, he said, you do the same thing to me. You might not honor me like we want our kids to honor us as parents. You might not honor me, or you may think you're getting away with something when you're not. You do the same thing to me, but yet I love you. He said, so through this, I'm going to show you my love, through them, through how they are being. And so I honestly believe in this particular thing, just because I gave it to him and didn't allow myself to go there, because I could have gone there. We can all go there. We can all think things. They said this, they did this. And you know what? It doesn't matter, because we do the same thing to him, and he still loves. His love endures forever, and his faithfulness. So just to encourage, just press on, keeping on, keep your eyes on him, and be obedient. And sometimes it's not easy. You know what? It wasn't easy for Yeshua either. When he saw the cross before, he even said, Father, take this cup from me. But he did it anyway for us, for the love. And so we can do it by his Spirit. So he's just faithful.
Yes. This is our God, right?
They were like prisons that we couldn't escape. But he came, and he died, and he rose. Those walls are rubble now. Prisons of those giants we call death and grave. They were like mountains that stood in our way. But he came, and he died, and he rose. Those giants are dead now. This is our God, this is who he is. He loves us. This is our God, this is what he does. He saves us. He bore the cross, beat the grave. Let heaven and earth proclaim. This is our God, Yeshua.
all we want is you. You are my world. You are what satisfies. 'Cause nothing in this world will ever do. Yeshua, all we want is you. Come and fill us. Come and be with us. We love you.
Nothing else. Nothing else will do. Is he enough? He's enough. That song always gets me. Very beautiful song. I don't know about you, but there's times that I feel like I'm going through the motion. Abba, I need a touch. Come on, let's just be real. We're living as far as in this world, and yet there's adversities everywhere. And we need Him. We can't do it on our own power, our own will. We need it. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dismiss as far as our young children. The youth will stay in here. Jeremy had asked if they would stay. So we're going to dismiss y'all for a minute, for about 5 minutes, and then as far as we'll have our parsha, we'll have our Torah teaching. Okay?
very short Torah portion, but this teaching is going to be very long because there's so much that we're going to go through. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this teaching is going to challenge some of the traditional beliefs that are out there. But follow me through the end of it, and let's see what the scriptures say, okay? Not what Jeremy says, but what the scriptures say. We're going to kind of piece all this stuff together. But before we get started with that, this teaching isn't on what I believe, where we go when we die, okay? But for you guys to understand where I'm coming from, I just want you to understand that I believe when people die, right, they're made up of body, soul, and spirit, right? Your spirit is what gives you life. It's your power source from the Father. When you die, that returns to Him. And your spirit, everything about you, the Spirit knows. It searches your heart daily, all your thoughts, questions, everything. Okay? Your soul, that is your mind, will, your emotions. That's everything about you. That's your DNA, your code. It's who you are. That's how you make your decisions, everything. And it's your soul where the Spirit dwells. Because that's where you choose which spirit you allow coming in, the good spirit or the evil spirit. We're going to talk about that a little bit today too. Okay? But that soul, did you guys know when the Bible says that the life of the animal is in the blood? Right? That's not what the Bible says. Did you know that? It says the soul of the animal is in the blood. Okay? That's the word that's there, is the soul. So that's why Yeshua, right? There's the blood. Without the blood, because the soul is in the blood. And then the body is your hardware. That's your physical. So I believe when we die, our physical and our soul go into the earth. And that's why we hear the Bible talks so much about sleep, right? The spirit returns to the Father, the power that gives you life, but you go into the earth, and the Bible calls this place Sheol, right? And it talks about you either go to paradise or a torment. Now, I look at that a little bit traditionally different. I think that the Bible, when it talks about sleep, it's telling us, look, you're not going to be there in a traditional sense like we are here experiencing this. But I think it's more of what we experience when we sleep, right? That's why the Bible refers to it as sleep. You're either in paradise, which you're happy and you love it, you have a great dream, or you're in complete torment, like people who have terrible dreams or night terrors and stuff like that. That's how I look at that, but I could be swayed the other way, that your soul could actually go into a place where you're completely conscious. But I think it's more of a dream state. And then your flesh just dies away. And you're waiting for the resurrection to go to heaven. And so that's what I believe. And so as we go through this, you're going to see some of this stuff. And this isn't about where we go after we die. This is all about the kingdom and what it says when you come, when Yeshua comes in his kingdom. So that's what this is all about. But before we get started, traditionally, you guys know I like to talk about what happened before the flood. All over the earth, there's megalithic structures that we're finding all the time that we don't know who built them, why they built them, or how they were built. But they're buried all over the earth. So usually I'll take you to Egypt or over to Mexico or all these other places. But China, you never hear anything about China. But they got some great megaliths there too. This is Yingshan Quarry. You can see the size of these blocks. They are cut. You've seen these before, right? These protuberances. I've showed you them in Egypt. They're in Peru. They're all over the world. So also here in China, you can see these cuts. Nobody knows who did it or how they did it. They have the same striations that you find all over the world in Egypt, Peru, and everywhere else. Here's also Longmen Caves in China. Same thing, look how big these are. They're cut out of stone. These are just about as, probably a little bigger than our monument for the, what's it called? Mount Rushmore, right? And you can see at Mount Rushmore all the debris that's left there because it's such a monumental task to remove it. And all these places that are cut into these stone, the debris, it's gone. Where did it go? Swept away in a worldwide flood, or they had the technology before the flood to move it. So here's some of the things, right? You see this giant people, little people. And it's not just one spot, there's caves. And if you've seen my teaching on India, this is a lot like India. But I wanted to talk about this one. This, I can't even pronounce his name. San Singdui ruins in China. So this one was found in the 20s, the 1920s, and it didn't get any excavations until about the 80s. And in the 80s, they started excavating it. And this is some of the stuff they found. Now, all this stuff is either made out of gold, bronze, jade, many other metals, and a lot of different things. And they found thousands of pieces that were small and large. And they have no idea where this stuff comes from. And their own dating says that it's about 3,000 to 5,000 years old, and it's buried beneath the earth. And that there is a mask. A lot of these figurines had gold-plated masks around them. I have no idea what that is, and that looks small, but it's actually about this big. It's very big. And you can see some of these. I have no idea if you look at that thing. This looks almost like what we would think of as the altar of incense, the way it looks. But here, this little creature in the middle, and there's a lot of these found all throughout this place. Whatever that thing is, I have no idea. But it's got a big mouth. That one to the left is actually very large. So, with this place, they started excavating it in the 80s. Well, just last year, they opened up a whole new treasure trove that they found. And everywhere around the world, guys, they're finding new stuff buried under the earth that they can't explain. Normally, some of these things that have been around for hundreds of years, like the pyramids, because they've been up, they have stories for them. But when they find these things, they're just like, we don't know. We really don't know. Same thing with in Turkey when they found Göbekli Tepe. They said, oh, that was about 10,000 years ago. They buried it. Somebody built it, and then they buried it themselves. That was their claim until they found another one just like it. Then they can't explain where these things come from. Well, the Bible explains it. It was all buried by a worldwide flood. But this is what they found just last year. Some of these things that they opened up. There you go. And along with this, there's lots of gold. So, all right. Whatever that place is in China, next time we'll go somewhere else in the world and look at some of these. But there's thousands of these places, guys, all over the earth that's buried by a worldwide flood. All right, so this Haftorah portion is titled The Future Glory of Israel. We're going to go through this really quick, but Deuteronomy, the Torah portion itself, it says, when you come into the land that Yahweh your God is giving you for an inheritance and have taken possession of it and live in it. We know that when they went into it the first time was a picture, right? When Joshua took them in, it's a picture of when Yeshua will bring us in. But it's not going to look, I don't believe it's going to look like we've traditionally been told. And that's what we're going to look at today. All right, so verse 61, chapter 60, verse 1 says in Isaiah, arise, shine forth, thy light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon thee. I like how the Septuagint puts this, and it says, being enlightened, O Jerusalem, for the light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. So this is all about Jerusalem, okay? This whole chapter. It goes on to say, behold, darkness shall cover the earth. The earth is going to be in darkness. And there shall be a gross darkness on the nations. But the Lord shall appear upon thee, upon you. He's speaking of Jerusalem. And his glory shall be seen upon you. Okay? And kings shall walk in thy light, and nations in thy brightness. Lift up your eyes, look up, round about you, and behold, your children, thy children are gathered. All thy sons have come from afar, and thy daughters shall be born on men's shoulders. It says, then shall you see and fear and be amazed in thy heart, for the wealth of the sea shall come round to thee, and the nations and peoples, and herds of camels shall come to thee, and the camels of Madian, and I'm not going to say that name, Gatha, shall cover thee. All from Saba shall come bearing gold and shall bring frankincense, and they shall publish the salvation of the Lord. For all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered, and the rams of Naboth shall come, and acceptable sacrifices shall be offered on my altar, and my house of prayer shall be glorified. Under the new covenant, what do we offer? Spiritual sacrifices. Those are acceptable sacrifices to the Father. And his house, which are we? We are his dwelling places. And what are we supposed to be a dwelling place of? A house of prayer. It's all about prayer. And thanksgiving is what we're going to see. In Isaiah 68, it says, who are these? I want you to hold on to this. Who are these that fly? Who are these that fly as clouds and fly as doves? With young ones to me. Who are these that are flying to me? The isles, they have waited for me, and the ships of Tarshish among the first to bring them, thy children from afar, and their silver and their gold with them, and that for the sake of the holy name of the Lord, and because of the Holy One of Israel is glorified. The strangers, that word there is foreigners, just like the Gentiles, shall build thy walls. What are we doing right now? What are we told to do? Build the kingdom. We are all living stones in this house. We're going to look at what this house is. And who is this that's flying up to them? Shall build thy walls, and their kings shall wait upon thee, for by reason of my wrath I smote thee, and for by reason of my mercy I loved thee. Remember in Hosea when it says Yeshua goes away for 2 days, but on the third day he raises us up? He says for 2 days he will what? Smite us. But he will raise us up on the third day. So, with that fly there, in Isaiah 40:31, it says, but they that wait upon Yahweh shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Okay? I want you to keep this in your mind that it's talking about these. Who are these that are flying up to you? And who are these that wait upon you that are mounting up with eagles' wings? It says, and thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night. So if you guys understand, the gates of Jerusalem were closed every night. Not just on Shabbat, they were closed every night. But here it says they shall not be shut day or night. Because, right, we're talking about Jerusalem. To bring into thee the power of the Gentiles and their kings and captives. For the nations and the kings which will not serve you shall perish. And those nations shall be made utterly desolate, right? Without anybody there, it's desolate. And the glory of Lebanon shall come to thee with the cypress and the pine and the cedar together to glorify my holy name. It says, and the sons of them that afflict thee, the sons that afflict them. Okay, we're going to get into this. Who are the sons that afflict them? And of them that provoke thee shall come to thee in fear, and thou shalt be called Zion, the city of the Holy One of Israel. Right? So Zion is the city of the Holy One of Israel. Keep that in mind as well. Because thou hast become, that word there, become, it's not become, it's the same word that's used for the Father when he says, I am that I am. He is, he exists. So because you have existed desolate, we're talking about Jerusalem, right? Because you have existed desolate, well, Jerusalem's not desolate. What's it talking about? We're going to find out. And hated. So not only are you desolate, but you're hated. And there was no helper. Therefore, I will make thee a perpetual gladness, a joy, and many generations. And thou shalt suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt eat the wealth of the kings, and shalt know that I am the Lord that saves thee. and delivers thee, the Holy One of Israel. Who saves us? Yeshua. He is our salvation, right? He is the Father's salvation for us. For brass I will bring gold and iron. I will bring silver and wood, brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, and thy exactors righteous. Violence shall no more be heard. Right? Has that happened yet? No, it has not. In thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but they shall call the walls what? Salvation. And thy gates praise. So this city is salvation and it's praise. It's where we will praise, right? The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither the brightness shall be the moon, shall the moon give thee light unto thee, right? So no more sun nor moon that gives the brightness, but Yahweh shall be unto thee as everlasting light, and thy God, thy glory. Right? So Yahweh is going to be the light of this place. All right, last slide for this, and then we'll get on to where I'm moving with this. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall the moon withdraw itself, for Yahweh shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people shall all be righteous, all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I will hasten it in his time, right? All right. So, with this city that we just talked about, the future glory of Jerusalem, to talk about this, we have to talk about the new covenant, because it's going to give us some clues to what's going on here. All right, so let's move into this. So, shadow of good. In Hebrews 10:1, right, we know that it says, for since the law has but a shadow of good things to come, instead of the true form of these realities, it can never, by the same sacrifices that are continually offered every year, make perfect those who draw near. So under the old covenant, right, the sacrificial system could never make us perfect. Why? Because like our brother taught last week, it could not deal with intentional sin. It never did. It only brought you near to the Father. It didn't do eternal forgiving it. Yeshua did that. And Yeshua took care of intentional sin. Otherwise, we were dead to the Torah. There was no way, there was no sacrifice for us to get out of our death penalty. Nothing. Nothing under the old covenant. That's why under the new covenant with Yeshua, when he took his blood in, and we're going to see this, it paid that price so that we are no longer under the law, meaning we're no longer under the penalty, the death penalty of the law. There is no double jeopardy in the Bible. You cannot pay the death penalty again for the Torah, for breaking it. Yeshua already paid it. However, Yeshua can cast you out now, right? And we see that that's what happens to many. All right, moving on. In Hebrews, it says, for it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins, right? Yeshua says, the most important hero, Israel, right? We've talked about this many times. It says, and you shall, the most important commandment, you shall love Yahweh your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And the second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So it's all love. And the scribe said to him, you are right, teacher. You have truly said that he is one and there is no other besides him, and to love him with all of your heart, with all of your understanding, and with all of your strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself is much more than whole burnt offerings and sacrifices. So we have to understand that those sacrifices that were once happening were a picture of something greater. And now that greater is come, and it's Yeshua. And when Yeshua saw that he had answered, he said, you are not far from the kingdom of God. I wanted to bring this up, right? The Dead Sea Scrolls in the Damascus document. This is the only thing I'm going outside the Bible today. I promise. It says, and they shall take care to act according to the exact interpretation of the law during the age of wickedness. They shall distinguish between clean and unclean, and shall proclaim the difference between holy and profane. They shall keep the Sabbath day according to its exact interpretation, and the feasts and the day of fasting according to the finding of the members of the new covenant. In the land of Damascus, right? We found that this is the Dead Sea Scrolls. They called their site Damascus. That's where Paul was going when he was going to persecute them. They shall set aside the holy things according to the exact teaching concerning them. They shall love each man his brother as himself. They shall succor or support the poor, the needy, and the stranger. That is what the new covenant is all about. Behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It is not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them out of the land to bring them, right? Took them to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant, which they broke. So the new covenant, is it like the old covenant? No, it's not. It is not like it. It goes on to say, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I will put my law, my Torah, within them. Where was it written before? On stone. And it was put in the Ark of the Covenant. It was written by the finger of God. Where is the new covenant written on us? On our heart. There's a lot of teaching out there that says we're not under the new covenant because the new covenant still has a fulfillment to do. We are under the new covenant because the Father is writing it on our heart. However, in the resurrection, it will be completely written on our heart because that evil inclination will be cut off. You all right? Yeah. All right. Don't make me do CPR. He says, I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And no longer shall each one teach his neighbor. Who teaches us now? It's the Holy Spirit, right? Like I said, it doesn't matter how much I stand up here and give you the understanding the Father has given to me. Until he reveals it to you through the Ruach HaKodesh, it doesn't go in. It doesn't go in. And the thing is we are all at different levels in our learning. I was going to play you guys a video today that I played to the youth a while ago of when I used to instruct and teach aeronautics to all the military aviators. And it just took you through showing you a video of them flying the helicopter when they first put their hands on it. And this thing is going all over the place. And you kind of have to let them do that. You have to let them go all over the place and get crazy. And then it takes a whole lot of study and time and sweat and heartaches and long nights. But by the end, you're in a more advanced aircraft, you're flying perfect and smooth in formation, and you're fighting the fight. But it takes a long time to get to that point. So what changed about the Old Covenant and the New Covenant? Where it was written. Where it was written. He wrote it on our heart. But we're also going to see the other things that change about it is how we worship. That's what changed. It's no longer the sacrifice of blood, because it said that stuff they did in the temple was the way they worshiped. They had the singers and stuff there and all that. But under the new covenant, we are the house. And we are giving our praise. And we'll see all that. I probably won't be able to get into all those things later because I put that to the end of the teaching. We'll hit them real quick when we get to it. And so it says, so no longer shall each one teach his neighbor and each his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sins no more. In 1 Corinthians 11:24, it says, And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup, and when he had supped, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink in remembrance of me. So he took the bread and the wine. So we're going to look at this a little bit later, where it is, oh, she's not. Chantel, where she's here. Oh, there you are. So we're going to hit a little bit on this. Remember when she talked about the bread and the wine? We're going to look at this a little bit later. It's very interesting that, right? the whole Passover. In the Passover meal, is there any commandment to drink wine? No, there's not. Is there any commandment to eat bread? Well, we eat the unleavened bread, right? But it says when they ate it, it was evening when they ate it, right? The command is actually to eat the Passover at night. But we're going to look at this because the thing that you do bread and wine with every day, guess what it is? The tamid, the daily offering. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. It says, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament. That word there is covenant, of the new covenant. Not of the letter, but of the Spirit, for the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. Right? We're going to find out that they didn't have faith back then, so they didn't receive the Spirit. They didn't receive the Ruach HaKodesh. So they had the truth, they had it, but they didn't apply it the way that we're supposed to with the Spirit. It says, but now you have been released from the law, having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in newness of the Spirit, not in the oldness of the letter. So we were released from the Torah. Not that we don't have to do those things, because the Torah teaches us what good is and how to love the Father and how to love our neighbor. We were released from the death penalty because we died to what we were held by. We were held by the death penalty. And we died by resurrection from the dead, right? When we are baptized, it says we're baptized for a clean conscience. That's what Peter's talking about when he says you have been born again in this body. Not what Yeshua is talking about when he's talking to, I think it's Nicodemus, when he says, unless you are born, all your translations will say again, because it's bringing off of what Peter said, but it's not what it says there. Yeshua says, unless you are born from above, you cannot see the kingdom. You remember what we saw earlier when it said you will see? It says that Yeshua will appear. It says that it says we don't yet know what we will be, but we know we will be like him because we will see him as he is. He says to look up because your redemption is near. Keep all those things in mind as we move through this. For we know that the law is spiritual, right? We learned that. And the spiritual, it's all about love. They didn't apply that. They just went by the letter. Oh, it says not to commit adultery. I didn't do the physical act. But what's in your heart? That's what the Father's worried about. That's where he dwells. What is in your heart? He knows. He knows what you're thinking. So that's what they were supposed to do, but they weren't. They hid it in their heart, and the Father already knew. It says, right, I just mentioned that. I'm moving on because we got to go. Right here also, you've heard me talk about this. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's from Leviticus 24, 17 through 23. That was the letter. But Yeshua comes and says, I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him also the other, right? This is the Spirit. Why is he saying this? People always say, well, somebody hits me, I'm allowed to hit him back. No, that's not what it's about. Right? An eye for an eye, it means if you do something to somebody, you need to repay it. He says, the judgment that you give is the judgment you're going to receive, right? Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If you forgive, you'll be forgiven. If you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven. But we're supposed to give vengeance to the Father. Vengeance is his. Interest on loans. The letter of the Torah says not to charge interest to your brothers, right? That's the letter of it. But Yeshua comes and says, don't even expect it back from your brother. If you loan it to him, the Torah says, yeah, don't charge interest, but I'm telling you, don't even expect it back. That's the spirit of the Torah. It's because they need it, you have it, give it. All right, we'll move on from there. Right? It says, you blind Pharisees, first clean the inside, the spirit, of the cup and the plate, that the outside may also be clean, the outer. Just because you do the outer doesn't mean the inside. Clean in here first, because that's where the Father dwells. That's where Yeshua dwells, his Spirit. But now he has obtained a more excellent ministry. By how much also is he the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises? For if that first, doesn't say covenant there, but it will later, had been faultless, there should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, right? Their hearts were stiff-necked. They were uncircumcised hearts. He said, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. How much more shall the blood of Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works? Right? That's what we're told that the baptism does. It's to clean our conscience from that dead works that we did. Now we can do works, good works, through the living Spirit, to serve the living God. So we do the Torah now, not because we're dead, but because we're alive. For this cause, he is the mediator of the new covenant, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions under the first covenant, they which are called might receive the promise. Remember, this is a promise of eternal inheritance, the promise of eternal life. Therefore, not even the first covenant was inaugurated without blood. For when every commandment of the law had been declared by Moses to all the people, he took the blood of calves, goats, with the water of the scarlet wool, and hyssop. Right, we saw this when Yeshua's death, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the covenant that God commanded for you. So it was sprinkled, right? The tent and all the other things. We'll get into that. And in the same way, he sprinkled the blood, both the tent and the vessels. We are the tent. We are the dwelling place that was used in worship. The tent and the vessels. All of that stuff was used in worship. Indeed, under the law, also everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sin. Thus, it was necessary for the copies of the heavenly things, right? Everything they had was the shadow, the picture of the true. For copies of heavenly things to be purified with these rites, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices. Spiritual sacrifice. Well, Yeshua is the better sacrifice here than these. For Messiah had entered not into the holy place made with hands, which again are copies of the true thing, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. Nor was it to offer himself repeatedly as the high priest enters into the holy place every year with blood, not with his own, for then we would have had to suffer repeatedly since the foundation of the world. But as it is, he has appeared once for all at the end of the ages to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And just as it is appointed once for men to die, and after that comes the judgment, so Messiah, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, pay attention to this, will appear, be seen, a second time, not to deal with sin, but to what? Save. When does salvation come? When Yeshua appears. For those who are eagerly waiting for him. Are we eagerly waiting for him? Okay. We don't have time to go over this, but many of you have seen me teach on this. I want to look at day 4 when Yeshua came. Day 4 is when the greater light was to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. This is when Yeshua was crowned, anointed, but he returned to the Father. Just as David was anointed king, right? He didn't rule Israel until Saul was taken out of the way. Yeshua, it says in Hosea that he returns for 2 days until his enemies are made his footstool, right? 2 days after day 4, Yeshua is the door on day 4. Also the menorah, you light all the other lamps off of that middle light. Yeshua was the light of the world, right? He says, those in darkness have seen a great light. Yeshua was the great light, and that's when he was anointed king. However, after 2 days, his enemy needs to be made his footstool. And then the kingdoms will be the kingdoms of Yeshua. Then salvation will come. And when does he rule? It says he's master of the Sabbath. He's Lord of Shabbat. And his rule will be how long? 1,000 years. So on the 7th millennium will be when Yeshua rules and reigns. That's the start of that day, is when he becomes king over all of the earth. He is king, but he's not ruling yet, because Hasatan has not been made under his feet, right? In the story of the transfiguration, right? They see this happening, but it says after how many days? 6 days, they saw Yeshua in his glory, and who was next to him? Moses and Elijah. Okay. we'll see that too. We're going to see Yeshua coming in his glory. You guys ready? I only got 30 minutes and I got to hurry. But this, I think, is going to help everybody. It's going to, I don't know if it's going to blow your mind. Maybe you guys are like, oh, we already knew that. I don't know. But when I learned this, it opened up to me so many. You will start seeing things all through the scriptures. You're like, oh my goodness, it's all over. It says, incline your ear and come unto me, hear, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. So this covenant is an everlasting covenant. There's not going to be another one. Sing, O barren one, who did not bear. Break forth in singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor. For the children of the desolate, remember when we read, who was desolate? Jerusalem was desolate. Will be more than the children of the married one. In Hebrews it says, but you are come unto, very important part right here, guys, Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You see what that's saying? Mount Zion is heavenly Jerusalem. The city of the living God is heavenly Jerusalem. Heavenly Jerusalem. And to an innumerable company of angels in heavenly Jerusalem. Do I need to say it again? To the general assembly and the church of the firstborn, which are what? Written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to his spirits of just men made perfect. Where does our spirit go? It returns to the Father. And to Yeshua, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood and the sprinkling that speaketh better things than Abel, right? The blood, or his soul, cried out when he died from the earth. In Galatians, Galatians is all about the circumcision, but we're not going into that at all. The two covenants, it says, tell me, you that desire to be under the law, right? He's talking about the old covenant, about going back under that. Because he wants you to come into the new covenant and understand that new covenant. It says, do you not hear the law? For it is written, Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman, Hagar and Sarah. But he who was of the bondwoman, Hagar, was born after the flesh. But he who of the free woman, by promise. The promised son. Keep that in mind. Which things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants. The one from Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, and is Hagar. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to the Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage. So Hagar is of the old covenant, which is the Jerusalem on earth. You see what that's saying? But Jerusalem, which is above, heavenly Jerusalem, is free, which is the mother of us all. She is our mother. For it is written, rejoice, thou barren that bearest not, break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate, who's desolate? New Jerusalem is desolate right now. This is after Yeshua. She is desolate of having a child, but she's waiting for her promised child. The desolate hath more children. What does he say to Abraham? Your children will be as the stars of the sky and as the sand of the sea, innumerable. Than she which hath a husband, the Jerusalem on earth. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was the promised son, are the children of promise. Dave, you know this answer. When was that promised son born? Shavuot. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted, Ishmael persecuted Isaac. What did we just read about those that persecute the promised son earlier? Their days are not going to look so good. Him that was born after the Spirit. Even so now, that promised son, the believers in Yeshua, are persecuted by the sons of darkness. Right? We see in the Dead Sea Scrolls the battle between the sons of light versus the sons of darkness. Now these verses should start making a little bit more sense to you guys. Before she, who's she? New Jerusalem, heavenly Jerusalem, Mount Zion. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child, her promised child. What is it speaking of? The resurrection. Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Shall a nation be born at once? Who's being born? Israel. And Israel is the New Jerusalem's child. For as soon as Zion, right, travailed, she brought forth her children. Bring to the birth, and not cause, shall I bring to the birth and not cause to come forth? Yes, shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy God. Rejoice you with Jerusalem. Which Jerusalem? Heavenly Jerusalem. And be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for joy. What are we supposed to be doing? What's the house of the Father all about? Thanksgiving, prayer, joy. Isaac's name was what? It meant laughter. What do you do when you laugh? You're full of joy. The promised son, when they're born, what are they going to do? Rejoice and be joyful. With her, all you that mourn for her. We see in other places, Paul says, while we're in this body, we mourn to put on our eternal body. But when we put on that eternal body, we're going to rejoice. Isaiah 26 says, your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. You who dwell in the dust shall awake and sing for joy, for your dew is the dew of light, and the earth will give birth to the dead. New Jerusalem is in heaven, but the birth takes place on earth. And we're going to see where they go when they are born. That you may suck and be satisfied with the rest of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will extend peace. What is Jerusalem called? The city of peace. For her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then you shall suck, you shall be borne upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted where? Which Jerusalem? New Jerusalem. And when you see, right, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones, Ezekiel 37, shall flourish like the herb with resurrection. And the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants. What does the Bible say about those who know him? Be gone from me, I never knew you. Why? Because other places it says, if you say that you know him and keep not his commandments, then the truth is not in you and you're a liar. We have to keep his commandments. That's our fruit. And indignation toward his enemies. So this time is when they are raising to life. They're coming into salvation. But now the indignation toward his enemies is coming. And I know you guys have all read this, but I wanted to point out. We've heard this Jacob's trouble, right? But did you know it says this? Alas, for that great day, so that none is like it. There is even a time of Jacob's trouble, right? We all hear that, but we don't see this part. But he shall be saved, salvation, out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, I will break his yoke from off of his neck, and I will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him, but they shall serve Yahweh their God. And look at this. And David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. In the time of Jacob's trouble, he's going to raise up David. David's going to be the king of Israel. Yeshua is the king of kings. He's the king of all the earth. Revelation 12:1. This should now help you guys make sense to what is going on in all of Revelation. It says, there appeared a great wonder in heaven. A woman. Who's the woman in heaven? New Jerusalem. Clothed with the sun. Who's the sun? A picture of the greater light of the world? Yeshua. Where's Yeshua? He's in New Jerusalem. And the moon under her feet. What are we waiting for? We're waiting for Yeshua to be cast down, to be Messiah's footstool. What's the earth? It's the Father's footstool, right? Under his feet. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child So now this woman is with child, right? But she hasn't given birth. It says she travailed in birth and pain to be delivered. What did we read? As soon as she travailed, she brought forth, she gave birth. Before her pain came, the birth happened. Before the pain came. But Jacob shall be saved out of it. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. Uh-oh. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. Did you guys know that this beast in Revelation, the 7 heads and 10 horns, if you add up the 4 beasts in the book of Daniel, it equals 7 heads, 10 horns? Just so you know. Because it also explains that this beast in Revelation is like a bear, like a leopard, like a lion. All those beasts that are talked about in the book of Daniel. It says, and his tail drew a third part of the stars out of heaven and cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Satan wants to devour you when you are born in your body. But what happens? And she brought forth a man-child, just like we saw in Isaiah 66, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Everybody always says that this is about Yeshua because Psalms talks about him ruling with a rod of iron, but they forget that the book of Revelation tells the churches, he who overcomes will I give to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was what? Where did the child go? Where did the promised child go? He was caught up to God and to his throne. So where is this child? As soon as it was born, it's caught up into heaven. What does Yeshua say? I wasn't able to put the 2 witnesses in here, but as soon they are killed after the 6th trumpet, right? They're killed after the 6th trumpet. They're dead for 3.5 days. Then they're resurrected to life. And Yeshua says when he returns, it'll be right like the lightning shining from the east to the west. What happens when you see lightning? You see it happen, and then you hear the sound. Why? Because light is faster than sound. And so we see these 2 witnesses are raised from the dead. And what does it say? He saw someone in the clouds that said, come up here. Because no man has ever ascended to heaven. Some of them were taken, but they were never able to ascend. But what did we see? It said that they are going to fly up to him. They're going to mount up with eagle's wings. And now here's Yeshua in the clouds telling them, he's not taking them, he's telling them, come up here. Where do they go? The child is caught up unto God and to his throne. They ascend up into New Jerusalem. And it says, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, and they that feed her there. So what I want you guys to understand, everybody has always thought that, everybody goes to heaven or they don't. Everybody goes through the Great Tribulation or they don't. When you look at the churches, it says of some of them, to he who overcomes, right? If you don't, you're going into Great Tribulation. But they're the church. We're going to read here in a minute that there is a remnant that remains. If Shavuot is the time of the promised birth, and it's the time of the harvest, are we allowed to harvest the 4 corners of the earth or the 4 corners of your field? No, you have to leave them for the poor and the stranger, right? So during the time of Great Tribulation, there's people that are going through it that have to be able to preach the word. But that's why Paul says the dead in Messiah will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up. So how long does this go for? This is very important. This book is going to tell you 3 times this time frame so that you get it right. 3 times it tells us, and in 3 different ways. How long is this period? 1,260 days. The woman is in the wilderness. Right? When Yeshua says, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, which I believe has to do with the death of the 2 witnesses, he says, when you see that, you need to go. He says, flee to the mountains, to the wilderness. I want you guys to understand that the Psalms, it says, he who maketh his angels spirits. What are spirits? Angels. What are angels? They're spirits. Wherein in the time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, who is the adversary. right? The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Because we have the good spirit within us, we have the adversarial spirit or the evil spirit. And he sends many different spirits, spirit of lying, spirit of jealousy, all of those to come upon you to cause you to sin. But as he told Cain, he says, you need to rule over it. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought. And the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out. Where? He was cast out. That old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world, he was cast out into the earth. And his angels were cast out with him. He's cast out. He is now Yeshua's footstool, right? Until I make your enemy, your adversary, your footstool. And what time was that we heard that's going to happen? Salvation, right? Okay, here you go. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation, when Hasatan is cast down, and the strength and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Messiah, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. He's in the earth, which accused them before God day and night, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved their lives. They loved not their lives unto death. What happened to the two witnesses? They died. Therefore rejoice, heavens. What do we do when we go into New Jerusalem? It says we rejoice. The heavens are rejoicing. And you that dwell in them. Who's dwelling in them? The promised Son. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down to you, having great wrath, because he know that he hath a short time. What's that short time? We just read it. 1,260 days. But we're going to be told it again here in a second. And when the dragon saw that he was cast out, he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for how long? Times and half a times. From the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of a flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with who? The remnant. Because you cannot harvest the 4 corners of the earth. So Paul says the dead in Messiah will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together. And he went to make war with the remnant of her seed, that keep the commandments of God, that keep the Torah, and have the testimony of Yeshua. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue for how long? 42 months. 3 times we're told the time frame of what's going to happen during the Great Tribulation and how long it's going to be. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. He's blaspheming them. He was cast down, they went up. That's what happened at Jericho, right? It's a picture. On Shavuot, they blew the trumpets, and on the last trumpet, the wall came down. A wall is a restrainer. Who is Hasatan? He's restraining us, we're told in another place, until he's taken out of the way. When he came down, they went up into the city. And he opened up his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name in the tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And he was given unto him to make war with the saints. There's still a remnant. And to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. You guys, in Israel, we're not all the same, right? There was the high priest, there was the priest, there was the 70 elders, there's the 12, there's the Sanhedrin, and then there's just the regular old lowly people of Israel, right? If that's all a shadow of things to come, then there's different levels of reward. That's why he's telling all these churches, the 7 churches, look, you need to overcome, or else you're going into great tribulation. Smyrna, what happened to them? There was no bad thing said about them. But they still died. He says, you'll have tribulation 10 days, but be faithful unto death. And I will give you a crown of life. They lived again. They get to go up. Also, who? Philadelphia. Nothing is bad said about them. But that first church, the very first one, right? It says, you left your first love. Who's the first love? You shall love Yahweh with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. The first 5 commandments. I'm trying to hurry. All right, Revelation 6:9. Those under the altar. And when he had opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain. They died for the word of God and for their testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto them. What is our white robes? Yeshua says he would give us a white robe to cover our nakedness. Our white robe is our eternal salvation. It's our new body. Paul refers to it as our heavenly dwelling, our heavenly tent. Yeshua says, I go to the Father to make a place for you, right? He says, in my Father's house are many dwelling places. They're given a dwelling place. They're given a white robe. How do I know that that's what this is talking about? We're going to read here in a minute that these white robes are their salvation. Were given unto them, every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed, as they should be fulfilled. Did you know it says in Psalms 116:15, precious in the sight of Yahweh is the death of his saints? We always mourn and stuff when saints die and everything, but it says here that the Father is like, that's precious in his sight. You've made it. You're in. You're done. You don't have to go through this toil anymore. Your judgment has already been set. And I beheld them when he opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth, and the moon became as blood. We've read this through Joel and all over the place. And the stars of heaven fell. I'll teach a little bit on that during Sukkot, but you guys, most of you understand that I believe the earth is tilting and causing some very catastrophic things to happen. Even as a fig tree casteth off her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island fled away. So after it says that the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chiefs, and the mighty men and the bondmen and every free man hid themselves in dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Immediately after that, it goes into the 144,000. They're sealed. It says, don't let any of this stuff happen until these, the remnant, are sealed, so that no harm comes to them. But there are some that don't receive that seal that will die during the Great Tribulation. And then it goes on to say who those were in white robes. It says, after this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number in every nation. A great multitude that no one could number. Who is this? It's Israel. From all tribes, peoples, nations, tongues, standing before the throne. Where are they? New Jerusalem. And before the Lamb, clothed in white robes with the palm branches in their hands, crying out with salvation. What is their white robes? It is their salvation. It goes on, it says, one of the elders addressed me, saying, Who are these clothed in white robes? And from where have they come? I said to him, Sir, you know. And he said to me, These are the ones coming out of great tribulation. What did it say about Jacob's trouble? They shall be saved out of it. They don't go through great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. In 2nd Esdras, it says, Arise up, speaking of the resurrection, and stand, and behold the number of those that are sealed with what? The Ruach HaKodesh. In the feast of the Lord. So this is a feast. I believe it shall go. Which are departed, they're gone from the shadow of the world, and have received their glorious garments of the Lord. Take thy number, O Zion. Who's Zion? New Jerusalem, city of God. And shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the Torah of the Lord. The number of thy children whom you longed for, New Jerusalem, are now fulfilled, is fulfilled. Beseech the power of the Lord that thy people which have been called from the beginning may be hallowed. I, Ezra, saw upon Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, And they all praised the Lord with what? Songs. For we know that in our earthly house and in this tabernacle we're dissolved, we have a building of God, a house not made with hands, right? Our heavenly dwelling. So when Yeshua says that he goes to prepare a place for us, it's your new body. And you're clothed with light. Did you know that when Adam sinned, right? What did he say? He was naked. What are we said? We're given these new garments so that we are not found naked. I'll move on. Because we will be clothed with not mortality, but with life eternal. In Revelation 3:12 it says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. He shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem. In Revelation 21:12 it says, John saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, prepared as a bride. So who is Yeshua's bride? New Jerusalem. But who is New Jerusalem? All of us. All of the believers that are found worthy to ascend to New Jerusalem. I believe that New Jerusalem will be over the air during the 1,000-year reign. And after the 1,000-year reign, it now comes down to earth. But I believe that it's there now. We just can't see it until we have eyes to see. And we won't until we have the resurrected body. But some of the saints in the past were given the eyes to see that in the sky there are angels going up and down. Jacob saw it. Elisha saw it. But we can't. But in our resurrected body, I believe we'll be able to see New Jerusalem, which is now up in the heavens, clothed with the sun, and the moon's under her feet. She's there. Yeshua's there. He's waiting. We just can't see it. I wanted to leave, ending off this new covenant thing here. It says, for the upright. That word upright is Ishar, which is the root word of Israel. You just add on the L at the end and you have Israel. Because Israel are the upright, the righteous, shall dwell in the land. Not just the land, though. What does it say? He says, the meek shall inherit the earth. And what does it say here? The perfect shall remain in it, but the wicked shall be cut off from the earth. I'm going to run through these really quick. Under the new covenant, we have spiritual worship, right? Yeshua says we will not worship here on Mount Zion or Mount Gerizim, but we'll worship in spirit and truth, the love of the Torah. You were chosen to salvation. You guys have seen me talk about this before, right? All these things, adultery, fornication, this is all the unclean spirit. It comes in, and you act on it, and now it's sin. When the unclean spirit comes in, we need to cast it out and fill it with the spirit of good. And then the spirit of the Lord, the Ruach HaKodesh, will remain, which is the spirit that gives us wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, the knowledge, and the fear of Yahweh. Yeshua is our high priest under the new covenant, and he is a priest after the order of Melchizedek. This talks about that the new covenant is a better covenant. And this Melchizedek priesthood is a royal priesthood, right? Because Melchizedek is king and priest, right? Yeshua right now is acting as high priest. We're acting as ministers, priests of the new covenant. Originally, Israel was supposed to do that. They were supposed to be a nation of priests. And he said that you will sanctify all the firstborn to me. But they sinned. And when they did, Levi was there to stand up against them, so it was given to Levi. But under the new covenant, it's given back to the people. We are the priests. And Yeshua is our high priest. But when he returns, he's putting on that other hat. He's going to be King, Lord, Lord. And he's giving us to rule all nations. And now we become the royal part of the priesthood with him. We're living stones and a holy people being built up into a spiritual house, into New Jerusalem. We offer spiritual sacrifices. My ears have you opened, it says, because you gave me ears to hear, eyes to see, understanding that these were a picture, shadow of the things to come. Sorry, I made this teaching much bigger than it's just there's so much to put into this. I had to leave so much out. And I have to be done here soon. So, all right, so spiritual sacrifices, thanksgiving, rejoicing, sacrifices of praise, sacrifice of a broken spirit and a contrite heart, steadfast love, the knowledge of God is our spiritual sacrifice. Praise, song, thanksgiving, the things that we do on every Shabbat. These are our daily, our to meet offerings in the morning and the evening. Let them praise his name in the dance. Also, it says, do not neglect to do good. Share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. That's a sacrifice. Thanksgiving, calling upon the name of God, right? Because we see that the church today is doing pretty good with the loving your neighbor, right? With the exception of some things, but they have forgotten their first love, to love the Father. They don't keep the Sabbath. That's part of loving our Father. Because that's when Yeshua is going to return. That's when he's going to give us his Son. Lifting up our holy hands, right? It says that daily they got down on their knees, they prayed. And what did David say when he prayed? Where did he look? Right? It says to look towards Jerusalem, right? But David also said that he looked up when he prayed. Where was he praying to? New Jerusalem. My voice shall thou hear. He says, unto thee, and I will what? Look up. The daily sacrifice, right? He says, pray without ceasing, pray continually. What was the daily offering? The Tamid. Offer sacrifices of praise to God continually. So prayer and praise to God continually. That word continually is Tamid. Same word used for the daily offering. The daily offering was one lamb in the morning, one lamb in the evening. With it, you offered the bread and the wine. Twice a day. Isn't that strange, huh? What did Yeshua eat with his disciples? And he said, this is my body, this is my blood. Bread and wine. Daily. And he says, do this in remembrance of me. So I don't believe it was just about the Passover. Because he says that the bread is his body. Daily, twice a day, they were getting down on their knees, they were praying. Because those hours are also the hours of prayer. The hours of sacrifice, it's the 3rd and 9th hour. And on our clock, it'd be 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Kind of weird how that flips, huh? But daily, they were offering these things. Prayer. His house is a house of prayer. When it talks about them putting an end to the daily offering in the holy place, is that something in a physical temple that will be built, or is it having something to do with the praise that people are giving to the Father? I don't know. Very well could be. Again, rejoice and be glad. Love thy salvation. Say it continually. All right. Can I get 5 or 10 more minutes? All right. We are the temple. We know this. Under the new covenant, we are the temple. I've got all these verses if you want to look through it. But I wanted to talk about this real quick. I've hit on this a little bit. So under this temple, this is the picture, right? He told us it's a shadow. It's a shadow of heavenly Jerusalem, but it's also a picture of us, right? You have the sea and the laver outside, or the altar and the sea. The altar, 4 corners. It was normally before this made with earth. So they make an altar of earth. So there you have earth and sea. 4 corners of the altar, 4 corners of the earth. When you go into the tabernacle, which we are, right? The things that enter our body can come in through our eyes, our nose, and our mouth. When you enter the tabernacle, what do you have? The menorah for the light, your sight, the table of showbread for your mouth, the bread, and the altar of incense for your smell, which is also a picture of our prayer. That's how you get into. But there was a veil getting into the Holy of Holies. There's a veil in our body to get to our heart. And there's only one person that's there. That's the Father and our high priest. Those are the only two people that were ever allowed in there, right? So the only thing that goes into your heart is the Father. And the Ark of the Covenant is a picture of your heart where the commandments were stored. Right? And the stuff that covered it, right? You look at the things that covered the tabernacle. They look like, look at that up there on the top left. The first covering, it's red and blue and stuff. It looks a lot like muscle. And then you have white. Looks like that flesh underneath the skin. You have that red. And then on the top you have its skin. And some people, there's people that say it's dolphin skin or whatever. But when you actually look, I think it's some sort of a deer or an elk type skin. That's what we are. So all this was a shadow of us. But there's two things I wanted to hit on real quick before we go. This is just me, and this is how I'm looking at these things. I can go through all of this and do a big teaching on it, but we're not going to do that. This is just me talking here. In there's these two cherubim, right? It says, "In the cherubim there shall stretch forth their wings on high." Well, most pictures you see of that thing, right? They're sitting on top of the ark. That's not what the Bible says they are. This is how the Bible explains they look. Okay? It says, "It shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings." So these are covering cherubim, right? That's what they are. What does it say over here in Ezekiel about Hashatan? "Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth." What do we read about Hashatan? He's the spirit, the adversarial spirit that dwells where? In all of us. We were opened up at the Garden of Eden for Hashatan to have access to us. Originally we were only good, but when we ate from the tree, the knowledge of good and evil came in. And so the evil spirit now has access. And when it comes in, because even the saved people still get angry, and it's what you do with that spirit. You either cast it out and fill yourself with love, right? I believe these cherubim are a picture of that. They are a picture of the two spirits that are within all of us. You either choose the good and resist the evil, or you walk in the evil spirit with hate and anger in your heart, and then you're the children of your father, the devil, the Bible says, instead of being the children of God, who walk in the good. So I believe that that's what that's a picture of there. And it also goes on to talk about these cherubim. Their wings have the sound of the Father's voice, right? Which we know his voice is either a thundering loud or it's a still small voice. I find it interesting that people have come to this conclusion too, and have written even cartoons about this little spirit on this side and this other little spirit on that side, right? The little devil guy talking into your ear and the little good guy talking into your ear. That is not far, actually, from what the Bible teaches us about what's going on with us. And we have to choose the good and resist the evil. It says, "Thou wast perfect in thy ways until iniquity was found in you." What was that iniquity? In the book of Wisdom, it says it was envy. Because man was created to only know good. And Hashatan would have had a pretty boring job until he convinced Eve to open up, and now he had access to convince you to sin, to bring those evil spirits in, right? Because we see in another place, there's that spirit that says, send me to be an evil spirit, to be a lying spirit to all of them. Not one person at a time, to all of them. All right. Moving on, and we'll finish this up. So under the first covenant, they were all a shadow of better things to come. The new covenant, it's not like the old. It's better, made upon better promises, because now we have eternal forgiveness of sin, and not only unintentional sins, but intentional sin. The Jerusalem above is our Jerusalem, not a physical Jerusalem on earth. Worship, we now worship in spirit and truth. Our high priest is Yeshua. Priesthood is a Melchizedek priesthood. Fleshly sacrifice, we have spiritual sacrifice. The temple, we are the temple. This is what's changed under the new covenant and where it's written. Not all the stuff that tells you how to love God and love your neighbor. All those things, right? The 10 Commandments were given to everybody because they apply to men, woman, child, race, whoever. But then the rest of the Torah is conditional. Are you a slave? Are you an owner of slaves? Are you a woman? Are you a man? Do you farm? Do you raise cattle? What do you do? Those are all conditional, but they teach us how to love. And if we throw those out, Yeshua, we're throwing out Yeshua. And he says, if you say that you know him and you keep not his commandments, you're a liar and the truth is not in you. I want to leave with this Romans. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. Because the law is love. It is Yeshua. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. The last 5 commandments of the 10. Thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law, and that knowing the time that now is, and high time to awake out of our sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. So I hope that bless you guys today, and don't throw stones at me if it did, because I love you. Any questions? No questions? Let me flip it back over for you, Dave. You gotta come put your password in. As he's doing that, when you read now throughout the Bible, there are so many places, other places in Isaiah and Psalms, all that are talking about New Jerusalem. And it's once you start seeing this, you're gonna go, so the physical Jerusalem was always a picture of where the Father is in heaven, and that city that will come down one day to the earth. And that is the Jerusalem that remains forever. All right, mic's off. That's not, I forgot you gotta use it. It's about dead anyway.
Yeah, I can hear it cut in. All right, thank you. You enjoy that? Thank you, Ron. We're just gonna have as far as an altar call. I'm gonna ask you to open this up and want us to come up for King. To cast all your cares on him. Right? I don't know what you're going through, but whatever you're going through, he's able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we ask or think. Abba is able to touch you because he knows what you're going through. He knows what you're feeling. Don't carry it. We don't need to carry things that we don't need to carry. Right? He says, cast all your cares upon me for you carry. So let us stand at this time. And as far as their singing, as far as the song, like I said, we're going to open up the altar and have you guys come and worship him.
Come to me, you weary one, and I will give you rest. I will give you rest. Come to me, you weary one, and I will give you rest.
Joy will be your strength. Take